So the Diablo 4 Season 1, little bit of a letdown. Now, of course, I did hear rave reviews about the final season here for Diablo 3, but let's be honest, fellas, that's Diablo 3. So you're looking for something to play, and lo and behold, right coming up now is the Season 5 of the best game ever made, Diablo 2 Resurrected. So when you're playing in the new season, Diablo 2 Resurrected, high runes are essentially the currency. You use them to make incredibly godly rune words and trade them for the incredibly rare uniques and other things that you want to make your characters absolutely godly. But where do you actually find them from? So today I'm giving you a combination of tips and tricks, different builds, and areas that are going to help you find way more high runes. So the first tip I'm going to give you is going to sound incredibly counterproductive, but that is don't ever go out exclusively searching for high runes. Always combine it in an overall farming strategy that's going to benefit you way more in the long run. Now, whether you're going out trying to find keys from the Countess and the Summoner and trying to find high runes along the way, whether you're going out trying to find rune word bases, or maybe you're trying to go out and farm those incredibly uncommon, unique items, this is a perfect time to implement these types of tips, tricks, and strategies in order to increase your odds of finding high runes along the way. I feel, and this is my opinion, if you sacrifice all that other stuff you could be doing along the way and exclusively target only the ways to find high runes slightly better, I feel like that limits your actual overall magic finding and your overall experience gain or whatever else you could get. That is actually a perfect time to segue into the next little tip here at the beginning of the video, and that is it's probably most of the time anyways going to be much faster to trade your way up to getting high runes than it is to actually perhaps find a bunch of the high runes. So even if you find one or two along the way, you're going to want more high runes than that, right, fellas? And that's why it's very important to have that implemented in an overall strategy. While you're finding a couple along the way, you're also going and farming to get, we'll say, those uniques you need from like Mephisto and Indaro, and then you can trade those for other mid runes or things like that. And then you can go ahead and make your rune words or even trade those up in order to get high runes. So never sleep on your ability to trade your way all the way to the top. And the third tip right now, you would be completely shocked the number of high runes I found when I accidentally got one. And literally, I mean accidentally. Now take a look at this clip, and this is literally just from a day or two ago. I decided, hey, look at this large pack of monsters on my way out to the Stony Tombs, a 85 area that is very good for finding those incredibly rare unique items. Now I go ahead and blast down this pack and oh, lo and behold, I get myself a low rune. So that's what you can see, that literally not going out and farming high runes, you might actually find yourself a high rune. Now I wouldn't stop and take out every pack, but if you see enough monsters, you know that they're a weak monster and you know you can slap down like 30 monsters in like 2 seconds, you might as well hop over and just wreck them real quick while you're on your way. Because every single one of those monsters is the pull of a slot machine. And if you can pull 30 slot machines all at once, instead of just pulling one slot machine at a time, you're going to increase your odds like crazy. So now we're going to talk about what builds are best for finding high runes. They're always going to be the ones that have the most area of effect. So if you're just out there swinging at a single target, that's going to be some of the worst ones. But if you're hitting a large area of effect, dealing out a ton of damage, we'll say a lot like the Nova Sorceress, that is going to be a great build for finding high runes. I'm not going to go crazy into depth full build guides for each one of these, but I'm just going to list off some of the best. We're talking about stuff like the Mosaic Assassin, and that's just because it outputs so much damage. It's absolutely bananas. All it takes is a couple of mid runes to get that Mosaic Assassin up and off the ground, and then you're the most powerful character in the entire game. Obviously, another one that's well known for finding a ton of high runes, that's the Lightning Fury Javazan. You can jump into the Paladin builds, Fist of the Heavens, and the classic Hammerdin. And you can't sleep on something like the Blizzard Sorceress. Now, this isn't a complete full build. These are just some recommendations if you want some of the better builds for getting out there and getting high runes. Now, I'll be honest, the build section here that I'm talking about is probably the least important, just because, in my opinion, you want to pick a build and a character that you're going to have the most fun with. And pretty much every single character has at least one build that really kills monsters incredibly quickly. So if you're deciding between what build to start ladder with, this is only like a 5% weighted type of section right here, but I did want to give you that information. So pardon me for this website having no dark mode, devastating, I know, right? But let's say you want to get out there and find a burr rune. Here we have it just set to players 1 difficulty, regular and hell mode. And if you didn't know, it says right here, you see it's a drop odds calculator. So let's go ahead and hit find, and you notice probability it looks like a lot of these are the same. These are all just random monsters. Some of these are 1 in 200,000. But then you jump into a large section. Almost all the monsters here, 1 in 1,825,000. This is per monster, but you're killing a ton of monsters. But as you look at it, they all look like the exact same, with the exception of just a couple monsters up at the top that have a lower drop chance. So as we're looking, wow, they all are the same. Are all the monsters in the whole game just identical? Oh, wait. There's a few down here at the bottom that are different. This is the first very important thing. Some of these monsters actually have a higher drop chance. So the first ones we want to look at are the ones we were talking about right here, the cow level hell bovine. Now you see they actually have, this is only 1 in 730,000 for a burr rune. Now if you have a higher players count, this will be astronomically lower. I looked this up on players 1 difficulty. But you look at that is a significantly better odds. So what does that come out to? Like it's like 30% better farming cows. On top of that, the cow level has a ton of density, and they have this increased rune drop chance, and they're not immune ever to any type of damage, with the exception of the elites. So the cow level, if you're out there farming for, you can get tons of charms, rune work bases, and it's a great place to find high runes. On top of that, we want to look down a little bit further here, because you see all these different finger mages, wraiths, wisps, all these different things that we refer to anyways in the Diablo 2 community as ghosts. Ghosts have a significantly higher chance. This is 1 in 356,000 as opposed to, we'll call it 1.1 million. So that's like a 3 times better chance of finding a rune from a ghost rather than an average generic monster. Now, the thing is that these ghosts are always immune to physical, but you can take them out with pretty much any caster there is, but they're usually in smaller packs and they're kind of spread around. But if you are teleporting down to places like the Countess, you're flying through the Chaos Sanctuary, any of those floating ghost guys, make sure you take the larger packs at minimum out along the way. On top of that, if you're going out and getting keys from the Summoner, there's also ghost packs out at the Arcane Sanctuary. So anytime you see those large ghost packs, make sure you take them out. And there is another thing here talking about locations. It kind of goes back to the tips and tricks, but this is a great place to point it out. You did notice most of these monsters, it's a 1 in 1,095,823 chance of finding a burr rune. But if you are in a full game and a full party, Magic Find does not in any way, under any circumstance, affect rune drop chances. The odds astronomically increase. So now it's only a 1 in 400,000 chance from an average monster. So that's almost a 3 times better chance of finding a rune on players 8 as opposed to players 1. And if you're scrolling down to the bottom where we had the odds for the best stuff, we're talking about things like the hell bovine, aka cows. This is 1 in 278,000. And when you're talking about the ghosts, it's only 1 in 100,000. Now, while those odds don't seem great, this is for just the burr rune. And you got to remember, there is what, like 10 burr runes? So it's only 1 in like 10,000 monsters. When you think of it that way, it's not as crazy, because it's not like you specifically want to get only one particular high rune. Trust me, you'd be happy finding any of them. Now, there's another one I got to talk about, and it's one particular instance. It's literally an exception to almost every single rule and every single tip that I told you right here. And this is, we're talking about any of the item find barbarians target farming out at Trev. Now, the different thing about the item find barbarian, this is where you can really target farm specific monsters over and over again, hoping to get high runes. You can get other good things out there. Trev is also known for facets and jewelry, but specifically what people farm out there at Trev is really they're hoping to get the high runes. Now, the monsters at Trev, the council can drop up to a cham rune. It's perfectly fine, if not considered best, to farm this on players 1 difficulty. Perhaps you could say farming it in a game with 3 people could be better, but farming it on players 1 difficulty with the item find barb is considered perfectly good. And the reason this is, it's part of what's in the name. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of attack you're using, whether it's Berserk, Frenzy, Whirlwind, whatever, but that is the item find skill. The item find skill works differently than finding items when you're normally farming in a game. The actual drop rate is based solely upon the percentage you get on that skill. It has literally nothing to do with the actual players count in the game. Generally, for normal monster kills, you only worry about having a higher players count to increase your rune drop rates. It's not the case with find item. So it's perfectly acceptable to go out there, kill the council on players 1 difficulty, and then use the item find skill on the entire council, getting a second chance at finding a high rune. And that drop chance could be equal to what a drop chance is on players 8 difficulty, even though you kill all the monsters just on players 1. Now, personally, I've never had great luck doing this, but I know for a fact what the odds are, and I've heard the stories from everybody else, and it's one of the reasons why this season I'm starting with a sorceress, farming up the gear to get barbarian, and I'm going to get out there and find those high runes this season from Trav with an item find barb. If the video helped you out, make sure you hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe up. And if you want to see what builds are best for the season start, check out this video right over here. Peace out, fellas, and keep slaying.